Promotional consideration paid for by the following. The Ohio Neck and Back Pain Relief Center, Scott M. Gray, D.C., across from the Marion Center between TSC and Kroger. For further information, dial 740-386-6580. Also located on the net at goodbackbadback.com.
You know what the greatest thing is about the exchange with Scott Spears? Well, not only do they have Scott Spears, but they got all kinds of fabulous guests, too. So tune in. The exchange. Scott Spears. Right here. Hello there, Soup here. Say, if you want to be really entertained, just tune in to The Exchange, starring my good friend Scott Spears, here on this station. You don't see Scott Spears using teleprompters all the time. No. He ad-libs everything. Is that okay, Scott?
Hey, Scott Spears along with you on the Friday edition of The Exchange. I want to get in this really quick because I want to really prop this up. The next time we meet, that box is going to open up October 31st. It's been here since late July. On Monday's program, you better be here. Same bat time, same bat channel, because we are going to pop this box open finally. You won't hear about it anymore, and we're going to find out what's in there after all these weeks and days and months of anticipation, Charlie.
I'm going to miss. No, I won't. Really. Could we take it out and maybe burn it on the courthouse grounds?
I think the mayor and the city officials might have a problem with that. We'll see, though. Let's kick it off. Let's get right into this because I've got two current events and a trip to Chicago I want to talk about.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie. Fascinating facts.
I hate to mention it, but snowblowers. Did you drain your gasoline or did you run it out last spring when we had our last snow? If not, you've got some old gasoline in there, and it might not fire off too well. I know what I did once. I had some old gasoline that didn't work very well, so I put just a tiny bit of the whatever it is that energizes your gasoline. Boy, it fired right off. You have to be careful not to put too much of this stuff in or to blow your engine up. But you better get it out and try to see if it will run. Not wait for the first snow. Community garden, we're going to have that again next year, and hopefully we'll have even more gardeners, and it's going to be great. And let's see, what else did I want to mention? That's about it, I think. That's good enough. Winter's coming. Snow is going to fly. You might think, too, about your tires.
Let me say
this. Oh, baldies.
Let me say this about snowblowers. If the weatherman says it's going to snow tomorrow, and it's the first snow, and you think there's going to be accumulation, you better not wait until that morning to go buy your snowblower.
Well, that's right.
Or they will be gone.
Dealers of snowblowers say if they don't sell their snowblowers by September or October, the sales just don't happen.
I have worked in I've never worked in the lawn and garden department, but every year we get the same big snow, and the first time there's a big snow, we run out within the first hour, and you can't buy them anywhere.
That's right.
So if you want a snowblower, when that forecast kicks in, and they're positive, and they usually are the night before, go the night before.
And a supply of salt might be nice to stockpile right now, and some of those things you put on your shoes to keep from sliding on ice. Do it now. Get ready.
Very important. We had a heck of a winter last year here in Ohio.
Might have it even worse.
Mary Ann, words of wisdom.
Well, the theme all this week has been "You Can Do It," and this last one is from Australia, and her name is Sarah Henderson, and she says, "All the strength you need to achieve anything is within you. You have it. You just have to discover it and do something about it."
I like that one, Marion. We ended the week with two good ones.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm very happy. We're going to go into this very quick, this video, because I've got a very important subject I want to talk about when we come back. This will take about 6 minutes. Last weekend took a trip to Chicago, but along the way had a very interesting run-in Illinois. I took a car trip. It was in a car. Found a very neat place in Valparaiso, Indiana. Also visited a place just outside of Chicago that I think you're going to like. I took a video log of it. Here we go. My trip to Illinois. Abernese Candy Shop, just outside of Valparaiso, Indiana. Scott Spears here. Scott Spears here, close to Valparaiso, Indiana, at the Albanese Candy Making Factory. There's windows just beyond us where you can see how the candy's made. Very interesting. There's Sarah Henderson inside there. They have to wear hairnets, everything of that nature, all kinds of walkie-talkies, so on and so forth. As you can see me, a lot of colors in here. Definitely a fall type of place, everything from M&Ms to Skittles. I see candy corn and everything in between. It is a beautiful, beautiful place. Halloween decorations over here. Look at the chocolate fountain. Do you see the chocolate fountain? We might get a little closer to the chocolate fountain as this goes on. But again, this is close to Valparaiso, Indiana, Abernese Chocolate Shop. And here we are on location again at the Abernese Candy Shop. This is the amazing chocolate fountain that's here near Valparaiso, Indiana. Look how the thing just has a great stride to it. Goes all the way up to the top of the ceiling and back down as chocolate just rolls right off of it. And if you go to the back, you can see the confectionery where all the candy is made. The big chocolate fountain at the Abernese Candy Shop. Look at this place. All kinds of candy, everything you could ever want here near Valparaiso, Indiana. Very neat. Here we are looking at all the Halloween sorts of things that they have beautifully wrapped and done up candies. Every little thing you could want. Again here, just about every type of candy you could imagine. All shapes, all colors. Look at that. Known for their gummy bears here in Abernese, Indiana. What a place it is. And of course you look across the way and you once again can see my favorite attraction, the chocolate fountain. This is actually a shot into the cooker from the top of the chocolate fountain. Chocolate fountain comes to the ceiling, chocolate fountain comes down. And then you have this area down here. And then in here, you have the chocolate. Now here we are at the gift shop at the Abernese warehouse. Now see, I really like this cup. Chicago Cubs, very nice. But you see, $15.99 cup. You're staying in Valparaiso, Indiana. Scott Spears here in
Chicago, Illinois, at the African Safari store here. We have the rainforest going on just beyond me. There's a beautiful restaurant, all kinds of interesting things to see here in a city outside of Chicago. Here we are in the African Rainforest Cafe here in Chicago. Look at the fish as they were, floating around in the tank in the African rainforest.
You have the frog on it. Okay, thank you.
This is in the Legoland building. There's a Sears Tower. Look at, oh, no. Look at all the cities. Look at that. All made of Legos. Oh, look at the Ferris wheel. Ooh. Look at that.
I know, look at all the buildings all lit up.
Now it's just turned night. You can see all the buildings lit up. That is quite a cool thing. I love the little theater.
That is very cool.
And this is Legos. This is not outside. Famous superhero of all time, the Cape Crusader Batman, all made of Legos and Legoland.
And that was my fun little trip across the state of Indiana on into Chicago, just in a little town. Legoland's located in a little town called Schaumburg, Illinois, about 35 minutes outside of Chicago. That's also where the African Rainforest Restaurant was located. It was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed that.
Did you go through Gary, Indiana?
You know, I think I was near Gary, Indiana. I remember seeing the signs.
Usually going through Gary or nearby, you can see the industrial smoke.
It was the windiest weekend, and going to the Windy City. So there you go. And also made a trip to the Sears Tower. But I tried to find some things that I never saw on video. I'd never really been to that Lego city. That fascinated me when the room got dark and the lights came on in the Lego buildings. That was amazing to me. I tell you, I'm going to pick a bone today on the show because I got this just in the mail today. Now try to pull it as tight as you can. This is a political ad that came in the mail, and we all get these political ads. Families shouldn't have to move because of skyrocketing property taxes and a for sale sign in the yard. Now, by reading this, would anybody have any idea what this was for politically? What is this for or against? Well, I'll tell you. You open it up, and this is what it says. Vote yes on issue 2. It reduces the need to raise property taxes by getting spending under control. Local communities across Ohio are struggling with record budget deficits. Until now, struggling communities basically had two choices. 1, raise taxes, or 2, cut services and lay off government workers, including police and fire. Yes on issue 2 provides local governments with tools they need to get their spending under control and will help reduce the need to raise property taxes. How? By voting yes on issue 2, government employees will be asked to pay 10% toward their own retirement plan and at least 15% toward their health insurance coverage. Restoring fairness, respecting taxpayers, requiring accountability for reasonable reform, vote yes on issue 2.
What organization is that?
That's good. That's very interesting you asked that, Charlie. Paid for by the Alliance for America's Future, Kara Ahern, treasurer, located in Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, wonderful.
Now, here's the points of this. If you don't know what issue 2 is, it has to do with collective bargaining for the unions. And it's just an Ohio thing. Now, why is a group in Alexandria, Virginia putting out this type of material on an Ohio-based issue? And number 2, what in the heck does this ad have to do? Where does it ever say unions? Where does it ever say collective bargaining? Where does it ever say what issue 2 is? This sounds like if you don't vote for this, we're not going to raise your property tax.
They're playing with people's emotions.
Well, in
That is the
Virginia-
silliest thing I've ever seen.
Virginia's a Republican state.
Well, here's what I want to say to this. Now, I went to the actual ballot website, balloting, voter ready. This is what issue 2 is, by the way. This is what you'll be voting for. Let's clear it up. The Ohio Collective Bargaining Limit Repeal will appear on November 8th, the ballot, in the state of Ohio as a veto referendum. The measure would repeal legislation that limits collective bargaining for public employees in the state. The formal title of the proposal that this measure would repeal is Senate Bill 5. Most notably, SB 5 prevents unions from charging fair share dues to employees who opt out. The process to place the referendum on the ballot for voters to decide was completed by supporters as signatures were certified for the Ohio Secretary of State. The group behind the referendum effort is the Political Action Committee We Are Ohio. Now here, Senate Bill 5 will impact the state's 400,000 public workers, restricting their ability to strike and collectively bargain. When voters head to the polls, a yes vote would be a vote to keep the law, which means you can't collectively bargain and striking is illegal. If you vote no, that means you want to repeal this law and let's do something different. Now, that's what issue 2 is. What is that ad? Marianne, you're a former teacher,
Yes.
married to a teacher.
Yes, principal, teacher and principal. I'm voting no.
No would be for. Right.
Yes.
But the question is,
Is no
No.
for the repeal.
no is for the repeal.
Right.
No is to get collective bargaining back on the table. Now, here's what I want to know. Should this be legal, this right here? I mean, this is propaganda in its essence. This says...
It is.
No law against it.
No.
Yeah, but there is nothing in that. I mean, if you read that, you consider this probably... Okay, for example, if you're voting for city council and you get vote such and such, you know who you're voting for. This does not say one thing about unions, not one thing about collective bargaining. It's presented more of a property tax
Right.
issue.
Right.
It's not a property
Like
tax.
I said, dealing with people's emotions. Oh, I don't want my taxes to go up. I don't want them to skyrocket. I don't know how high they're talking about. I can't do that.
I mean, do you feel good about yourself if you're this group in Alexandria, Virginia, that, say you win, say more people vote yes, and that whole thing sticks. Do you feel good after putting out propaganda like that?
It'd be interesting to know how much they were paid to come up with this.
Well, I want to know who paid them.
Yeah.
But are
That's
we...
right. It doesn't say, does it? Who paid this group
No.
to
Well,
put
you know,
this together?
you know what's interesting? It says back here, not authorized by Building a Better Ohio. That means at some point they went to the group Building a Better Ohio and said, can we do this? And they said, we don't want to be with you. But you know what? They didn't stop.
No.
And Building Better Ohio is not also saying, hey, this ad is false. This is baloney.
So what was their purpose?
To get people to vote yes on.
Vote yes.
Yeah. But I mean, that group has nothing to do with Ohio or the whole
Well,
issue.
see,
if Building a Better Ohio did not endorse it,
If I were a conspiracist after reading this, I would say that Building a Better Ohio probably has a hand in
it
this.
probably
ad.
hired them.
Why else would you make sure to put on there, not authorized by?
Yeah.
They didn't.
They were protecting themselves.
Yeah.
I have a problem with an ad like that. I thought that was ridiculous because I try to read those political ads for good or bad. And when I read that, I mean, I knew what issue 2 was just for paying attention in the papers. But I had no idea what that was.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
That is highly bizarre, and I don't
And
appreciate
the fact
that.
that it comes from Virginia.
But
is
think of
really
all the
bad.
people that will believe that,
They will.
They will, that's
especially
right.
the older generation.
And they will believe that it's a referendum on property tax.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will.
And nobody wants their property tax raised. Now, here's the thing I want to spin from that. Now that we're all in agreement that that ad is nasty and wrong. But let's talk about what the issue actually is. Marianne says she was going to vote with the teachers on that, which would be no.
Right.
Charlie, how do you see yourself voting on
That's the
this?
way I look at it too.
A lot of people, there is a sour taste, as I've talked to people, about this collective bargaining thing. Now, the part that I've never understood was, how can you make it illegal to strike? I mean, didn't we talk about, you have the right to assemble in this country. How can you make it illegal to strike? I still don't understand that.
When you're employed by a city or a state or whatever, they can tell you, in this case, could make it illegal.
Well, but they can fire you. Ohio's a no-fault state. But illegal says the cops can get involved.
I mean, if you're working for a company, you've got to abide by what they say.
Certainly.
Or agree to.
I agree with that, but that's not a law. Like if I go get a job at a grocery store, and the grocery store says you have to wear shoes, and I go in and I don't wear shoes and they fire me, that's fine. The cops aren't going to come arrest me because I didn't wear shoes. This says it's illegal to strike. How can you make that illegal? I mean, is that not a violation of civil rights?
Apparently, there's been, most of the legislators, or maybe not most of them, but so many of them are lawyers.
What?
They should know.
That's the thing they've snuck in here. To be honest, collective bargaining, I can understand why people, non-union people, probably have a problem with collective bargaining. I can understand that. But I don't understand why they make that striking illegal. How can you make that illegal? That sounds like one of those pork bills where they're stuffing something in that, why would an employee care if you
Adding
strike?
on, yes,
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
I mean, what is the point of that, Marianne? How can you make that illegal to strike?
Well, they don't want to have to kowtow, I suppose, to the union. They don't want the union to have any kind of authority. They
But-
want to pay these people what they want to pay them, and they don't want any recourse for the employees.
But the way this reads, and this is how it reads, if you strike, okay, if you strike, it's not just being fired from your job. It's not just collectively bargaining. It is illegal. You can have charges filed against you. You can be pressed, and you can be in the wrong, legally.
Okay, so Senate Bill 5, it has the power to make it illegal to strike.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Which they can.
But once again, we're voting on civil rights. I don't understand that. You know, we're voting on the Bill of Rights. You have a right to assemble in this country. This is just, it's a good thing. Those people in New York, we talked about that, Marianne, and I said they are probably disrupting traffic and so on and so forth, and you said, but it's their right. This bill takes away the right to assemble in Ohio. Law.
Well, I don't think it takes away the right to assemble. It takes away the right to strike, to leave your job.
That scares me. Doesn't it? If
Well,
you
I
leave your...
I think there should be, I think they should be able to bargain for their salary.
The bargaining thing gets to be problem, and I'm not saying I'm against it. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying I understand why people are getting angry about that when there is no health care, and these groups can go in. If you tried to start a union today, forget it. You wouldn't get off the ground. They would knock you out. These unions, fire, police, and teachers have been able, because they were started a long time ago, to stay around and collectively bargain. So I understand why, only 400,000 people in Ohio. I don't know what the population of Ohio is, but it's a lot greater than that. I mean, so I can understand why people would not want collective bargaining, because that's the old rule of protect the lazy. If there is somebody doing a bad job, they're going to be in there because they're part of the union.
Well, I can understand why people don't want teachers to strike. They don't want firemen to strike. They don't want policemen to strike because they are community people, and the community depends upon these people. And I can understand that because I couldn't imagine myself when I was a teacher, going out on strike. I just couldn't imagine it. But I think if you're allowed to have collective bargaining, then you can avoid strikes. I mean, you can come together and have a plan that is mutually agreed upon by both parties. So there is no strike.
But, you know, Mary, in this...
They're not allowed to have that bargaining, you know, to get better salaries or better situations.
But this is intertwined in the fact that what they want to do is say, you can't collectively bargain. Well, if striking wasn't illegal, you could still do that. I mean, they're not making unions illegal. They're just eliminating collective bargaining. So then if your union goes out on strike because you can't collectively bargaining, now you're breaking the law.
I don't think you've ever seen a police force or a fire department strike.
No.
That's right, and that's a good point.
Yeah, but I think what they're getting at in some of the advertise is these jobs aren't going to be quite as attractive as they are now, perhaps, because you won't have bargaining rights and so forth, and you know, your benefits will be curtailed somewhat, and this will create a shortage of police and firemen. That's what they're getting at.
Well, it certainly wouldn't create... Now, here's what I want to say. How many... Okay, we're over, but I want to say this about this. There is a separation here between teachers and firemen and police officers. Because if the teacher goes out on strike, the day does go on. I mean, life goes on. If the fireman goes on strike, the building burns down. If the police officer goes on strike, the lady gets murdered. That's different. There's a separation there. And there's also a separation in the idea that there's going to be a shortage of teachers in Ohio. No, there's not. People are beating down the doors and people have been laid off to be teachers. Firemen, police officers, I don't know. But certainly isn't going to be a shortage of teachers in Ohio. I mean, I really don't think there is a lot of unemployed teachers in Ohio. Think what you will, make your own decision, but remember, if you vote no, that is for restoring collective bargaining. If you vote yes, that is getting rid of it and has nothing to do with property taxes directly. See you Monday.